Hi guys, how you doing? This is Ben, the LP student, and this is my first video on my first class that I took at Yavapai College Introduction to Paralegalism. Now, this is uh, the the book that we use by William P. Statsky. I thought it was a good book. It was easy to read. The instructor, which was Professor Frimmer, great instructor, gave a lot of insights on what kind of the legal um, field is like. Um, had some good, I guess, insights and lectures to that. But the class in general was about a lot of things. Um, and then I don't want to make this a 50-minute video, but it kind of went over paralegal careers, paralegal employment, the on-the-job realities, regulations of paralegals or the lack thereof. I'll go over that here in a little bit. A little bit of an introduction to the legal system as well. Stuff that we might have gone over during high school or maybe your previous experience in college. And then, what's really important for a paralegal are things like legal analysis, legal interviewing, because paralegals do a lot of that. Investigating in a law office, you're going to go out and find facts. Legal research and legal writing. One thing that they did mention in the book, which I found interesting, because I just like stuff like this, is kind of the question. You really want to pay attention to verbiage, but it's like the question, do you know what time it is? Okay. And I've asked that question many times. I've been asked, people have asked me that question many times, and most of the time, I think you're going to get the time of day. And so, in other words, if someone asks, you know what time it is, they're going to tell you, well, it's 3 p.m. But is that really the question that was asked? Do you know what time it is, right? Well, it's a yes or no question. And something I learned in the Marine Corps is attention to detail. And this is just another example of something you need to pay attention. Verbiage matters. So when someone asks you, do you know what time it is? It's a yes or no answer. Either you do or you don't. Okay. So it kind of got my mind thinking, okay, yeah, I really need to pay attention to what's being asked of me, and and what's the intent of the question. So I just found that very, very interesting. So it kind of puts you in the mindset of, hey, if you're going to be a paralegal or you're going to be in the legal profession, you really want to listen, okay, and you really, really want to understand what you're doing. That's just what I got from the book and what I got from the course. The other interesting thing that came out of the course was the actual definition of a paralegal. Okay, so this right here is this is the ABA, or the American Bar Association's current ABA definition of a paralegal, and this one is as of February 2020. And I'll read it to you. It's a paralegal is a person qualified by education, training, or work experience who's employed or retained by a lawyer, law office, corporation, governmental agency, or other entity, and who performs specifically delegated substantive legal work for which a lawyer is responsible. Now, the reason why it says employed or retained is because you can be employed by an attorney, or an attorney can hire a paralegal firm, like an independent contractor paralegal is the way I like to think of it, to do paralegal work on behalf of the attorney of the law office. So, and now it's still under the direction of the attorney, and the attorney is still going to, supervise, but it's more of an independent contractor setup rather than an employment setup. So anyway, I found that pretty interesting, but I also noticed when I looked this up, it's not the definition that we were looking at in the book. The book had a little different definition, and what that is paralegal. And I'll just read it to you. Paralegal means a person who is qualified through education, training, and a work experience, and is employed by a lawyer, law office, governmental agency, or other entity to work. To work under the direction of an attorney in a capacity that involves, and this is where it diverges a little bit, involves the performance of substantive, I always have trouble with that word, legal work that usually requires a sufficient knowledge of legal concepts and would be performed by the attorney in the absence of the paralegal. So it's a little bit different. But I mean, I think it has the same gist. You know what I mean? So a paralegal, in essence, can do much of the paperwork or much of the work that an attorney can do, provided that they are a paralegal and have the uh, you know the knowledge and education or training that is needed. There's something called the absence test. So what the absence test basically says, and it kind of alludes to it at the end of this particular definition, is when it would, it's concepts or work that would be performed by the attorney in the absence of the paralegal. So if an attorney didn't have a paralegal, he'd be doing that particular work himself. So a paralegal, if you have one, would be doing the same work um, that an attorney would be doing. Now, one thing that you definitely don't want to do as a paralegal, and something that we do talk about as realtors and mortgage loan professionals, is something called the unauthorized practice of law. Okay, and this is just an article that I found on the internet. But even like I said, even as a real estate professional and as a mortgage loan officer, you don't want to be giving legal advice. Okay, because we're not licensed to practice law. We're licensed to, represent someone in the sale or purchase of a home, or licensed to procure a mortgage loan on the behalf of a client. But none of that authorizes us to give legal advice. So if something were to come up in a real estate transaction that needed some legal attention, I would have to advise my clients to seek legal counsel and kind of stay away from giving any type of advice. It's just kind of the smart thing to do. Well, paralegals are in the same situation. I'm sure it says legal in the name, so I'm sure paralegals would probably be able to vouch for me on this. Sometimes when people find out what you do, they might start asking you legal questions, and the answer that I would use, and the one that I would recommend, and the one I do recommend to my processors, my real estate transaction coordinators and assistants, is you get asked a question that has to do with real estate, or has to do with mortgage lending as far as quoting of rates or anything like that. I just tell them what you need to do is you need to become an appointment maker. And you say, hey, that's a great question. You really should talk to Ben or someone in my office. Let me go ahead and make an appointment for you to meet with them. And that's really what you want to do as a paralegal. So it's something that I'm used to doing when I was working in a real estate office or a mortgage office and I didn't have my license at that time. That's what I did. Okay, I became a order taker, and I just said, hey, let's go ahead and make an appointment, set up a time, and have them talk. So I just found that was probably the best thing to do, and that is the best thing to do as a paralegal. So now, one other thing I thought that was interesting, and I alluded to this a little bit earlier in the video, is the regulations that are out there that govern paralegals here in the United States, and really the lack thereof. So I just want to kind of go over, now this is California, and I'll get back to that here in a second, but let's look at Arkansas here. All right, now most states, when it comes to paralegals, look like Arkansas. Okay, and what I mean by is regulation, certification, what it takes to become a paralegal. Anyway, so Arkansas says paralegals in Arkansas need to be U.S. citizens, and most states follow that. And pretty much every state, paralegals need to work under the direction of an attorney. They need to have a minimum age of 18. Now, in other states, they don't have that requirement. I think one was 16, and I think the other one didn't have an age requirement. So you could be maybe a high school student working in a legal office, and you can call yourself a paralegal. Okay. The state of Arkansas in this case doesn't have any licensure, meaning there's no license to be a paralegal. And that's, I think every state had that. I don't think there was any state that actually had a license that you had to get in order to be a paralegal. There's also in most states no certification requirement and no educational requirement. Although, if you do try and work as a paralegal in most legal offices, they're going to want you to have some type of education or some type of schooling, okay? But it's not required by the state or by states in most states. Now, California is kind of the exception. I think there's one other one, but California, I want to kind of bring to your attention. You can do the research if you want to. Now, where I'm getting this from is our class assignment when I was taking the class. So we were supposed to look up all our paralegal regulations in all 50 states, okay, or the lack thereof. But anyway, in California, just to call yourself a paralegal, you have to have all these requirements, and part of that, even though there is no state test, you are required to get certification. A person must be must require a certificate from a or acquire, I'm sorry, not require, acquire a certificate from a program approved by the American Bar Association, um, or another accredited institution. They must complete 24 credit hours of for the certification. So you have to get certified, and then you have to have an educational requirement. A person must have at least a high school diploma or a bachelor's degree, and then on top of that, they have to have anywhere from 3 to a year's worth of experience in legal work in order for them to call themselves a paralegal in California. Otherwise, you're a legal assistant or maybe a clerk or whatnot, whatever term you may want to use. So I just found it interesting that there was so little regulation when it came to paralegals. And the explanation to that, or at least what was given in the book and in the class, was, well, the legal profession is very heavily regulated anyway. You have to work under an attorney, and because attorneys are regulated and you're working under the direction of an attorney, there wasn't any, at least according to the ABA and also the various different associations involving paralegals. They just didn't see the need for any type of regulation. So, and I'm not a big regulation guy either. I can understand why they decided to go this route. Some states have a little more regulation than others, like California, and other states like Arkansas have very little. So, I found that to be very interesting. Um, Anyways, I just thought that these were a couple of things I thought were very, very important. There's a lot of different subjects that are covered in the book, like that I kind of alluded to, and the class itself wasn't entirely difficult. You certainly had to apply yourself, go through the different modules, and what's great about Yavapai College is it's just it's a great place if you are looking to become a legal paraprofessional, or perhaps you're looking at maybe some other. I know they have some nursing classes, or maybe you're just trying to get your general ed done. I think it's a great place, especially if you want to do it online. They just have so much to offer. I think it's a great place to start. It's been a great experience for me. Now I'm taking the next class, which is wills, trusts, and probate. I don't know if I got that order right, but anyway, that's the class I'm taking now. I'm almost done with it, and I'll probably go ahead and make a video once I get that class done. And I found that one very interesting, just simply because I've had some experience as a realtor with probate, and also with wills and trusts and whatnot. But yeah, it's there've just been some really it's been a great experience for me. I really enjoy it, and I encourage you, if you endeavor to do the same thing that I'm doing now, give Yavapai College a look. I think that it was probably the easiest and for me the most inexpensive route to go. Like I said, give them a call, find out if they are an option for you, and if they are, go for it. All right, guys. This has been the LP student signing off, and you will hear from me soon. Talk to you soon. Bye.